is we've got to find a big problem and you got to find a solution. The thing about insulin resistance, and that is the leading issue that we face in our world today when it comes to our health, is this issue of insulin resistance. It hits 93% of us in the world. The statistics show, we can look at it, metabolic endocrinology. We look at the study, 93% of people are metabolically unhealthy. That's huge, folks. That's huge. I mean, and I'm going to ask this question this way. How many of you guys, when you think about it, when you imagine, what would it be like to not be tired all day? What would it be like to not be struggling with anxiety and depression, chronic fatigue? If that's you, type me in the comment. If you're dealing with those issues and you're trying to figure out, hey, what do I do about that? What is it that's hitting me? What is it that really kind of hits down low where it hurts? To not have the energy at the end of the day, that you've got family that you care about, people that you're worried about. What is it that kind of like raises to the surface? Have you thought about that? Has there been things in particular that have hit you that, as you've looked at life, um, I mean, because many of us are kind of caught between, um, we're caught between having kids, and responsibility there, or our parents are getting older, and what do we do about them? And the cost of health care, the cost of just living expenses all day, and the cost, and even I hesitate to call it health care. We really have something called more sick care than we have health care, right? We're dealing with things that we've not dealt with as we get older, and what we're told is, hey, take a supplement, um, take a pill. They're like, hey, how many of you guys have seen this right here? You have these right here that are all around the house. Think about this. How many of you guys have a cabinet in your bathroom right over your sink? What do you call that? That cabinet's over the sink. It's on a you're sitting there, it's on a hinge. You have a cabinet on a hinge in the bathroom and it's like everywhere. What do you call that? Type in the comment below. What do we call that? It's a medicine cabinet, right? It's a medicine cabinet. We have these things that we are doing all the day, right? And we're conditioned that in every home, we built it into our homes that medicine is supposed to be part of the solution. So we really are given two options. There's two things, we're given two choices: stay sick or take these pills. Take the shiny things. That's what we're given as options. And we do it to our kids. We indoctrinate them. I mean, think about this. What is the biggest fast food chain in the world? What is our biggest fast food chain? Type in the comment what you think it is. Is it McDonald's? Is it Burger King? Is it Panda Express? Is it Taco Bell? What is the biggest food chain in the world? I'm going to tell you, you probably aren't going to guess it. The biggest one in the world is actually in the United States, and it is our public school system. I mean, they bring the trucks in; it's loaded with food everywhere. It's every place that we're getting, right? So that is our number one fast food restaurant, is actually what we feed our kids. In the United States of America, the public school system is the biggest fast food chain. We feed more to our kids every single day than anything else. We are sitting there pumping them full of all of these things in bags and boxes and bottle codes, food that has been pre-cooked and we feed it to our kids. And then we come along and we come up with, maybe it's processed worst candy world. This was my ride or die. I don't know what yours might have been, but it's no wonder that I was diagnosed with diabetes, right? Crazy, right? And then we're allowed to do this, sugar-free, right? And here's the thing. First ingredient is polyglycityl syrup. You want to know what that is? That is one of 200 words for sugar. That is one of 200 words for sugar. The FDA allows that to be in there. So when we think about the chronic diseases that we face, right? The chronic diseases that we constantly are going to deal with all the time. I'm going to jump over here. I'm going to grab, I hate the way this does this, but it does what it does. So when we look at this, all right, what's happening in our body is we have got this whole situation where we've got chronic diseases that we're being faced with that are not we're not getting answers for, right? We live in this world where ultimately we've got this going on. We've got these chronic diseases of insulin resistance that we're not getting answers for. And over again, we can look up here, whether it's the belly fat up here, we're craving carbs all day long, but even look up here. I mean, you just take a look at it. Insulin resistance, we're talking about diabetes. We're talking about cancer, PCOS, fatty liver, all right? Neuropathy, obesity, migraines, all right? Heart disease. And then we have all of the small ones. These are just the simple signs. This is like where your body is starting to say, hey, guess what? You might want to pay attention. You might want to pay attention to this. How many of y'all are in that place? 93% of us in the US are metabolically unhealthy. And we are dealing with this whole issue. And we're not being given the time to talk to our doctors. I listened to America's cardiologist on a video the other day that said, hey, guess what? I don't have time to talk to you in my office. You need to take what I give you and go away. I mean, that really, it's not verbatim, but that's basically what he said. He said, I don't have time to answer your questions. And then he went on to talk about, I take these meds, all of the cardiologists I know take these medications. We do it because it's our health. And then at the same time, the other side of it, he said, you need to eat healthier. Well, why don't we address that? Why don't we address how we're eating? And that's a big part of it. This is where those of us that are nutrition coaches, nutritionists, dietitians come into play, is because we're here trying to help people with that. And most of us here, I guess here's the other part. How many of y'all are tired of people trying to give you advice that have never been through situations that you've been through? How many are irritated with that? People come in and they want to tell you what to do, but they've never walked that path of some of the things that you're dealing with. You know, for me, insulin resistance, the brain fog, the cravings, the food, I've lived that. I've had a stroke in my optic nerve. I've faced cancer. I've been in that battle. I've been in the battle with diabetes. I watched my first wife die from colon cancer. For crying out loud, I know what it is to be a widow. I know what it is to be not only a single parent, but an only a parent. There's nobody there to help with. Now, I'm not asking for you to cry about that. I'm not asking for your sympathy. I don't want it. I don't want sympathy, and it's not what I'm interested for. What I'm interested in is helping people. That's the thing. When I was diagnosed with diabetes, I didn't get help. I mean, the help that I got was from my wife because she's a doctor. She's a dentist, which thankfully she had 2 years of medical school. I mean, she was in that period of time that we were addressing that. And so when I was diagnosed with diabetes, she was diagnosed with prediabetes, and we looked for answers. And the thing about it was, the answers we were getting from my doctors was this. This is what I was getting from my doctors. Take more of this. That's all I got. Here, go fill this. Go do this. Get this done. That's what I got. Don't ask me questions. I don't have time because the insurance company. How many of you guys have been in that situation? If you've been there, type me in the comment. If you've been in the situation where this is the answers that you got. But we have a big problem. And the solution is addressing insulin resistance. Now, folks, here's the thing. 93% of us are metabolically unhealthy. We have some form of that, whether that is heart disease, whether that is a large waist circumference that we're dealing with our weight, whether it's our blood sugar levels, whether it's high triglycerides, low HDL. We've got an issue that we're dealing with that doctors are not answering. And every time that we walk by and we don't ask the questions, or doctors don't let us ask the questions, we're left wondering, what do we do next? We're left wondering because This is the answer, a pill for every ill. This is the answer that the sick care system, the pharmaceutical system is looking at, is this pill for every ill. But you and I are human beings. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. Um, you and I are formed in the image of God. And these issues are the ones that we're dealing with. How many of you are dealing with skin tags? If it's not you, then who? That's the other question. Who do you know? The average US American is on up to 4 to 8 medications now and not getting any solutions. We're not getting better. Heart disease is still the number one cause for why we're unalive. Alzheimer's is increasing. Colon cancer among millennials is on the rise. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is on the rise. 1 in 3 teenagers was diagnosed as a pre-diabetic this year. That matches numbers for adults. So what are we going to do about it? So again, I'm going to go back to that. There's a cabinet in your bathroom on a hinge with a mirror. What do we call that? Type in the comment if you know what we call that. That bathroom that's on a hinge. What do we call that? What do we call that? We call it a medicine cabinet. Built into our homes is medicine. That is what we keep being told all the time. And this chronic issue that we're dealing with right now is one that there's got to be something that we do about it. And what do we do about it? We've got to change some things. So when you have a big problem, you need a big solution. This is a big problem. Insulin resistance is the number one thing that is impacting our health in the world right now. And you may have it for 10 or 15 years before you ever are diagnosed with it. Folks, that's frustrating. That is probably one of the most frustrating things, is knowing that I had it all this time and then being diagnosed with a diabetic and my doctor never addressing it before, and actually having me on medications that didn't help, right? They were not addressing those medications the doctors put me on, didn't help. In fact, it was contributing to my diabetes. If you're on a PPI, a proton pump inhibitor, you're dealing with a medication that is causing diabetes. Things that our doctors are not addressing with us over and over again. And to have to be one to find that out, I was counting on my doctor to do that. When, as a pastor, people expect me to do that. As a nutrition coach, people expect me to do that. When I'm working in real estate, people expect me to have answers to questions, and if I don't, I go find them and I respond to them. And when your doctor tells you they don't have time to answer your questions and they're not going to, that's not only discouraging, it's like that hurts. So when we start to address this issue, we've got to come to grips with the reality of our health, right? And that there's things that we can do that our doctors are not giving us guidance on. They're keeping it hidden from us, and they're not addressing what insulin resistance is. And here's the thing: insulin resistance is right here. It's right in front of us all the time. That our bodies are using, right? Our bodies are, every time we eat, our blood sugar increases, and insulin is the key that unlocks the door right here, all right, to each and every cell. Sugar comes in, and that's how it does it. And then it's used in our bloodstream for our brain, our liver, our muscles. But when we become insulin resistant, all right, what happens is our cells are full of blood sugar. Our cells are packed full of the blood sugar, all right, and because we can't do anything with it, then it gets dumped into our bloodstream. That's what's leading to type 2 diabetes. That's what's leading to this entire list of conditions, all right, of insulin resistance. How many of these are you feeling when you look at your life? Who do you know? If it's not you, then who? Type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, sarcopenia, erectile dysfunction. These are the realities of what we face when we're metabolically sick. And our doctors are not addressing it. Even as simple as this, our doctors can do. There's HOMA IR. There's so many other things, but this is a simple one that your doctor can do to determine your insulin resistance. This is one of the means. If you will just take your recent blood lipid panels and your triglycerides, divide your HDLC. If it's less than 2, you're insulin sensitive. If it's greater than 2, you're insulin resistant. And that's where you're going to be before being diagnosed with prediabetes or diabetes. And that can be the case for 15 or 20 years. And the doctors aren't saying anything. They're not addressing it. And they're not addressing the fact that every time we eat, every time we're consuming, our blood sugar increases, and insulin, that anabolic hormone, is trying to keep your blood sugar down. We keep eating all day. All the snacks, all the food is destroying our metabolism. On top of that is this. Fiber's been taken out of our foods. All right, in the processed food companies, they've taken out the fiber. This, in nature, all of these foods, this is covered in fiber. Fiber slows glucose absorption in our bodies. But we take the fiber out, and so our blood sugar is spiking. And so we're having this all the time. Every time we're eating, this is the insulin spike by macros. All right. So you have carbohydrates have the greatest insulin spikes. Proteins and fats are right there with the least amount of protein spikes. And it takes insulin 10 to 12 hours to come down, even though sugar only takes about 4. So we stay high with elevated insulin all day. No matter what we do, it tries to come down and it can't. It's always fighting against it. You're in a battle. All right, as I like to say, we're kind of in this battle with our blood sugar and our insulin. And it's like we're beating our pancreas. Blood sugar, insulin, blood sugar, insulin, blood sugar, insulin. We're beating our bodies up all the time. And as a nutrition coach, it's helping people to ask really 4 questions. How are you eating? How are you exercising? What are your extras? And who are you encouraging? And I want this to be an encouragement. It's not your fault. It wasn't my fault. It's our system. It is this food system that we're in that is disrupting what's going on when it comes to our health. Think about this, metabolic health. 93% of us are metabolically unhealthy. So in a class of 100, that means 93 kids are failing. Do we blame the kids when 93 are failing? We might when there's like 3 or 4, but when the majority of the class is failing, we blame the kids, or we blame the system. What do we address? What do we It's not your fault. It wasn't my fault. When I was diagnosed with diabetes, it wasn't my fault. I mean, I knew there were some lifestyle changes that I need to make, but I've learned it wasn't my fault. I didn't know because no one had taught me. No one had shared that with me. All right. So when I was diagnosed with diabetes, no one had taught me about meal order, about the benefits of intermittent fasting. Nobody taught me about this. Nobody was explaining this to me, and the doctor didn't have time to talk to me about it. I had to talk to my wife and I, who's a doctor. She had not been taught that either, but she wanted an answer to this that was natural. So she got on the phone, called around friend to friend who is a nurse and a diabetes educator. They said, Doc, you need to go to the provider's digital reference. Something the doctors don't talk about right here, the pdr.net. You need to go there because there is a protocol that is all natural that you can get right there, that you can order, that you can use. You can actually prescribe it, and there's no contraindications. You can look at the studies, you can look at the research. There's no contraindications to this product. And if you'll do that, and if you'll start that, you're going to see changes. Watch your blood work, watch how you feel. So she started doing this right afterwards. Her neuropathy, fibromyalgia were gone within 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, we saw that disappear. I know it sounds crazy. I know it sounds nuts. But that's what happened. And the whole time I'm watching that. And the fact that it is things like metformin, That neuropathy is a B12 deficiency. You know what metformin does? It strips the bodies of B12. If you go to the PDR.net, you can look up metformin and you'll see that it strips the body of it. You all need to see that. I'm happy to show that to you. So if we go over to let's do this. Let's go over to, let me pull up pdr.net. So here we go. I'm going to jump right over here. All right, we're going to go right over here to pdr.net so you get a chance to see. I'm going to type it in right into my computer. All right, it'll let me do it without everything going nuts. Oh. Sorry, man. This is like really awkward. All right. So if I type in here pdr.net, okay, this is just going right over here. pdr.net. Yeah. Man, it's taking forever. All right. So huge. So for me, it was in 2024 that I started doing this. Now, I was already dealing with all the medical issues that I had. So that was big for me. So I started to drink the tea and the fiber. I started to do this. For my health. So what we did is we make sure we've got a fiber matrix. That's right out of the gate. And right here, this is going to help handling your blood sugar. We start doing that, we drink this, and this helps with our blood sugar. Studied at the Cleveland Clinic, studied at the University of Sydney. This helps to slow digestion, which is what fiber does. All right? We can look at any of the books on the specialized on fiber. We find that's exactly what fiber does. All right? These are in the pdr.net. That's exactly where we were just looking a minute ago. We go to the provider's digital reference. All the products are here. We've got the studies in there that actually point to this helps to lower blood sugar levels, like metformin. All right, it helps with statins. If you're on a statin medication, this does the very same thing. This was shown to lower need for statin medications on a population basis. So that was a huge part of it. These products can be taken with any medicine. There's no contraindications. That's what the PDR tells us, because they're food. This is a blend of 7 different soluble and insoluble fibers. This is not Metamucil. All right, this is not just one source product that's going to jump out on the planet and going to do that. The thing is that just like you can't, I would say that, I mean, you can get your one source fiber if you want Metamucil. It'll help you go poo, but that's what it's going to do. All right, this is what we get, that blend. So it's like eating a lot of different vegetables, plants, more than what we can normally eat. And when we know that 95% of us are not getting enough fiber, and 93% of us in the world are not metabolically healthy, this becomes a huge part of it. All right. Now the PDR is a big, thick book. It's about yay big that your doctor looks at, or they go online and they can look this up. Your doctor can look this up just as easily as you can. All right. That's the great part about this. And for me, my blood pressure went from 140 over 93 down to 120 over 82 within 4 months without the medication. I didn't need my medications. My medications were not helping anyway. You don't need a prescription. All right. That's another great part about it. They're done in a purification process. They go through a purification process. That's what the products are. They go through a purification process in the laboratory. It goes into these packets right here. I don't do it. You don't get them from me. You get them directly from the laboratory, right from the shipping. They're done. All right. They've got the studies that back them up. We've got a mound of that. And there's no side effects. You're not going to be dealing with side effects. Now, no, it was 2016, but in 2023, all right, it was $1.67 trillion that the pharmaceutical has spent when it comes to doing research, and we've spent on all the medications. That's incredible. That is absolutely incredible. So between that and doing intermittent fasting, those are the two things that we're doing. And the yerba mate increases the body's natural GLP-1 between 60 to 70%. Something that we don't get told when it comes to pharmaceuticals is that, hey, you just need to take more GLP-1. But what makes me upset is that I was not told the science and the nutrition behind this. The anatomy is your body makes GLP-1. Glucagon-like peptide is a catabolic hormone made in your small intestines. Catabolic hormone made in your small intestines. But instead, we're being told to do medications. How many of y'all struggling with weight loss? All right. So I've been doing this now for going on 2 years. For 2 years, I have been addressing my health in ways I had never done before. Reversing diabetes, heart disease, migraines, acid reflux. Absolutely. Absolutely crazy. And it was lonely. It was lonely being sick. It was lonely going through radiation. It was lonely going to the doctor's office. Nobody could do that with me. I knew when my wife was dying of colon cancer, I knew what she was going through. To a point, when she went into hospice, I mean, there are things that I didn't know. When it was terminal, I didn't know it but I knew what it was like to fight cancer. I knew going through those treatments was lonely. I knew when it's being sick, when I was going through all of this stuff with my eyesight because of the stroke in my optic nerves. I knew it was lonely. When I was losing weight, it was lonely because nobody in my family needed to do that. Well, they did, but they wouldn't. They were stubborn. They didn't want to do it. It was lonely. So we call Healthy Together because I don't want you to feel like you're alone. You may well, if you're good being alone, that's fine. I mean, but that's not for most people. That's why the health journey is so very difficult, and we feel guilty, we feel shamed, especially when we talk about weight. Everybody feels that. Everybody. I don't know anybody that doesn't feel the shame. And my late wife was in Overeaters Anonymous, and I know about the shame. I know what that was like. I know what she was going through because she told me about it. When you are on a health journey, no matter how positive it is, if your family's not there, if you're not surrounded by people that are building you up, it is a shame-filled thing. It is constantly, and the answers are not being given when you have doctors that tell you they don't have time to talk to you. That is one of the hardest things to do. So, when we're doing this journey, if you are ready for something that will change your life, the Feel Great system has been one of the best things that we have ever done. And we coach on that. When you order the product, when you start with that, you work with Dr. G and I. We walk through there. Hello. Safasal, how are you? I hope I pronounced that right. Good to see you this morning. This was the game changer when it comes to being healthy, when it comes to doing this life journey, is getting the things into our habits. I asked 4 questions, and this is one that we can ask ourselves every day. How are you eating? How are you exercising? What are your exercises? And who are you encouraging? Sorry about that. Those 4 questions are the game changers. And really, right now, I'm just talking really about the extras. What are the extras? The great part about the fiber is this is a multivitamin. So if you're loading up on vitamins all the time, it's not needed. There are simple changes, and we help with nutrition to help find what you need to be getting in. Doing this right here changed everything. And I don't, when I say that, I mean, you can sit there and look at the picture. I mean, and the blood work showed the very same thing. Dr. G and I, this was us when we did this journey. um, our blood work showed it. Everything about it showed it. And if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, you don't have to stay that way. All right? The tea and the fiber. It's the way to go. Check out our link.